Bennett, huh?
If there is one unforgivable sin the Vampire Diaries committed beyond romanticizing toxic relationships, beyond killing or flexing, and even beyond the overuse of the doppelganger plot, it's how the show treated Bonnie Bennet. She was the one who saved everyone's lives repeatedly, the actual hero of the series. The one who saved everyone's lives repeatedly, who sacrificed more than any other character, who held the entire narrative together only to be rewarded with trauma, erasure, and the writer's apparent disdain. While Elena sobbed over her love triangle and Damon smacked through his latest murder spree, Bonnie was busy keeping Mystic Falls from collapsing, often at the cost of her own happiness, sanity, and even her life. Yet, time and again, the narrative minimized her contributions, sidelined her pain, and treated her like a magical plot device rather than a person, man. Let's begin with the early signs of disrespect in seasons 1 and 2. From the very beginning, Bonnie got the short end of the stick. In season 1, her magic was introduced as a convenient tool to solve everyone else's problems, breaking Damon's compulsion on Caroline, rescuing Stefan from the tomb, stopping the ritual, but her own storylines were treated as an afterthought throughout. Take a relationship with Grams, for instance. Sheila Bennett's death in the 14th episode of season 1 was one of the most emotionally devastating moments of the early seasons. Yet, the show barely gave Bonnie time to grieve before shoving her back into witchy sidekick mode. Compare this to Elena's mourning periods. When she lost someone, the narrative stopped to let her feel it. Bonnie, on the other hand, she was expected to power through to keep saving everyone else while her own pain was ignored. Then came the 22nd episode of the second season where Bonnie performed an actual miracle, bringing Jeremy back from the dead. This was after he was shot by Caroline's mom, who was aiming for Damon, and instead of treating this as the earth-shattering act of love and power that it was, the show immediately undercut it. Bonnie collapsed from the strain, bleeding from her nose, while Elena and the others barely acknowledged the cost. Even worse, throughout this second season, we saw Bonnie preparing to fight an original Klaus Michelson. And before we could see that happen, Bonnie admitted to Jeremy that she was willing to die if it meant she could save Elena and Mystic Falls. At that moment, Bonnie descended from being a best friend to being a magical Negroman. She cared for everyone else but herself and didn't have an ounce of self-preservation left, which in return set the tone for Bonnie's entire arc. No good deed goes unpunished, and every time she saved someone, she paid a price, and the narrative really cared. And all this was blatantly obvious in the way her trauma was brushed aside in season 4, man. Bonnie literally died at the end of this 4th season, sacrificing herself to bring Jeremy back. Yet, when she returned in season 5, no one seemed to care. There wasn't any emotional reunion with Elena, no deep conversation about what she went through, and no acknowledgement of her suffering either. Instead, she was immediately thrust back into magical fix-it mode, which was more than fucked up, man. Throughout the show, it felt as though Bonnie didn't place much value on her own life. It felt as though she connected her self-worth to only what she was able or what she believed she could do for her friends, and perhaps that explains why she was always game to do anything to help them, including sacrificing her own life. And before we conclude the video, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the series finale. After 8 seasons of saving everyone, after dying, coming back, losing her mother, her boyfriend, her magic, and her sanity, what did Bonnie get in the end, man? A half-assed ghost reunion with Enzo, no grand send-off, no acknowledgement from the people she's spent a decade protecting, just a quiet, underwhelming ending that feels like an afterthought. Meanwhile, Damon, who spent years abusing her and belittling her, gets a hero's redemption, a happy ending with Elena, and the narrative's stamp of approval. Typical, man. So, to conclude, Bonnie's treatment isn't just bad writing, it's a part of a larger trend in TV where black women are expected to be the strong ones, the ones who suffer silently, the ones who give endlessly without receiving anything in return. The show could have given Bonnie the arc she deserved, one where her sacrifices were honored, where her pain was centered, where she was allowed to be more than just the group's magical lifeline. Instead, it did her dirty at every turn, man.